Oh, what's that I hear? I think it might be the world's smallest violin, because the studio behind Tales of Kenzera ZAU, possibly the most Sweet Baby Inc. studio you can possibly get. I'm pretty sure one of the founders of Sweet Baby, the co-founder or something, they were partly responsible for this studio existing in the first place. This team that released a failed game, this game flopped miserably, they're laying off a third of their staff. And I could do that generic thing that people do where I get all upset that people have lost their jobs, I shed a few tears. I'm not going to do that because the truth is, most people who are working there, they should have known that this was going to happen. As soon as the game came out, it was a colossal failure. No copies were sold. If we look at, for instance, the Steam charts, there are 5 people playing right now. This game came out this year. Even the peak, when it released like 2 or 3 months ago, less than 300 people on Steam were ever playing it. So this thing was a total bomb. I think the developers tried to, I hate the word gaslighting because some pretty annoying people use it, but that's what the devs were doing. They tried to pretend, no, the numbers are lying. No, the Steam charts, they don't tell the whole story. They may tell you that no one's playing the game, but we've got some secret numbers hidden in the back room that will tell you that this game was actually popular. If you don't agree, you're a closet racist or something. You're an ist, you're a phobe. Something's wrong with you, but anyone with a brain, a couple of eyeballs could see that this game was not doing well. Even on console, I don't think it was faring much better. 5 people playing right now. This was a bomb. And that's despite the game being heavily discounted as well, because if we look on Steam, it's currently $22 in my country. The game used to cost like $50 when it came out. Seemed expensive for an indie game, but they were confident because they were telling stories of culture. It was going to be incredible. Black culture, everyone's going to get amongst it. And then because people didn't buy the game purely because it was representing a certain culture, that was the whole purpose of the game. Not about it being fun, not an interesting Metroidvania, that's kind of the genre it's in. It's not about being a genuinely fun, entertaining game. The purpose, the reason it was made was because of identity politics. To push some sort of cultural message, which I don't really know what it is. I don't care what it is either. It's not my problem. I just want a fun video game. I think that's the case for most people, but it's been discounted twice. The developers, I think, halved the price. They made up some reason about, oh, we're showing the racists by discounting it. No, you just discounted it because you haven't sold any copies. You can keep making up these reasons. Your own disturbed followers might believe you. Anyone with a brain knows you discounted it because it wasn't selling. They've discounted it again. I've just noticed this. There's a special promotion. Now it's 25% off. They're that desperate to sell copies. I think it might actually be EA published. They're probably scratching their head. Oh my god, we made this game, Sweet Baby Inc. Why is this not selling? Great business from EA. And just jumping back to the people who lost their jobs. So you can be sad for these individuals, but I don't have a whole lot of sympathy because, again, if you work at a business and you know things are not going well, you should be aware that the finances are going to run dry at some point. They are not going to have money to pay you anymore. If you work anywhere, a game studio, any sort of business, and I've seen this before, if things aren't going well, it's probably best to jump ship, update your resume, start applying elsewhere. And the people there who were doing that, they were trying to find a new job because they knew something bad was going to happen. The studio would get closed or there would be layoffs. If they tried, they couldn't find another job, then I might have some sympathy. But I reckon a lot of the people who work there probably believe in the message, and they think that they can't fail because we're backed by Sweet Baby Inc. We're making a game for the new culture, the new world. We're spreading the message. We're going to be fine. Even if the game fails, no doubt we'll get a new cash injection. DEI funding. We'll be able to keep churning out this crap because the powers that be seem to like us doing it. Well, unfortunately for them, the money well seems to have run dry because DEI funding, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of it. Sweet Baby Inc., we haven't heard anything from them in what feels like ages. They seem to have gone underground. Where are they? What exactly are they doing? It seems like they know they need to stay quiet because right now you hear that name, you start to feel sick. Most gamers, they feel sick, they avoid anything to do with them like the plague. And I think that's leading to some people getting the wrong idea and thinking to themselves, oh, DEI in games, it's dead, we're winning, it's going to go away. I don't think so. I think it's going to be quiet for a little while because the whole Sweet Baby controversy, it got a lot of eyeballs on it. Even the people who just play the games and they don't normally care that much about the identity politics stuff, they were starting to come around because when you make it so obvious that you're using games as a vehicle for propaganda, pushing modern political 2024 stuff, it's eventually just going to annoy everyone. And that's what the whole Sweet Baby Inc. controversy was. It all just compounded. Normies were pissed off. Everyone was pissed off, basically. So the Sweet Baby Inks, the DEI funding and so on, it feels like it's kind of gone away, but I just have this feeling that it's going to be back in force. Maybe not immediately. It could be a few years down the line after the US presidential election, once things kind of simmer down, but I have this feeling it will be back because the powers that be, they've spent too much money on it, too much time. They are determined to re-educate everyone, so it'll be back at some point. But for now, we can laugh at these layoffs because that's why this has happened. There is no more funding for these idiots. They wanted to make a game that was like their pet project. Cultural issues, we want to do this. Do it in your own time. If you want to make a video game that people are going to buy, it's got to be fun first. All that other stuff, that's to the side. No one really cares about it. And the game, Tales of blah, 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 whatever it is, doesn't seem that good. At best, it was maybe average. What did it get? If we have a look at the Metacritic, it's like a 76 from the critics, and that'll have inflated scores because it's pushing the right message and so on. It's got a 6.6 user score, and many of those people, again, they don't care about identity politics and so on. They just played the game, and I tried to do a little bit of research. I tried to go to impartial games message boards. If you look at just Metroidvania ones, those people often don't care about Sweet Baby. They're just there for the gameplay. Even they were saying, the game kind of sucks. It's got like 3 bosses for a Metroidvania, where boss battles are often a big sell. It's what you play for, interesting boss fights, using your abilities, your upgrades, and so on. Not a whole lot of content, and that's because they were spending way too much time on their little cultural identity politics stuff. They weren't looking at the game design. And I want to look at this as well, because if we go to one of the saddest subreddits in existence, we've got this. Oh, great! Chud's now celebrating another layoff because of Sweet Baby Inc. Poor developer behind Tales of Kenzera ZAU. They didn't deserve this, and as expected, there's the news stories doing the rounds about the layoffs, and people are basically saying you spend all your money on Sweet Baby Inc., you focus on the wrong things, not a fun video game, you're doing other things, you get what you deserve. Someone says, another Sweet Baby Inc. victory. Oh no, that's terrible, I thought the modern audience would save this. Say it isn't so. And we've got this comment. Someone says, Chuds, aka sensible people who don't like Sweet Baby Inc., they would have this opinion. Why do black people need to be forced into our culture? And then apparently, when they do make a game about their own culture, a game about black culture, we apparently think, ha ha ha, you flopped, no one cares. Now I see this sort of argument thrown around all of the time, and this person has given the bad faith version of the argument, where he claims that anyone who hates Sweet Baby Inc., they're going around and saying, why do black people need to be forced into our culture? No one's really saying that, no one that I know. That's a fringe opinion. But what people are saying often are things like, you take Star Wars, you take The Lord of the Rings, and they do race swaps, or they insert certain characters in there who only really exist in that show or that video game because of maybe their skin color or their sexual orientation or something like that, and they're not really a character. They're just in there to represent some sort of modern political issue, and most people can see that now. You can try and istphobe and everything, but most people can see exactly what you're doing. And so people rightly complain and say, stop ruining this existing IP, go away, make your own show, make your own IP. Oh, you don't do it because no one wants to play it, so instead you ruin Star Wars or whatever else. But what he's trying to say is, even if they make their own product, so the Tales of Kenzera or whatever it's called, and then if that flops, or even if we just see it, we're laughing at that as well, and we're criticizing that just as heavily as when it happens in The Lord of the Rings or some sort of existing IP. So the argument basically boils down to, if you don't like this game, if you don't like this DEI stuff that we're doing, you're a racist. That's really what it boils down to. As usual, because there's a few brain cells missing, they miss the point completely. I'm going to give you an example. Kingdom Come Deliverance 1, the upcoming sequel, these are historically accurate games that represent European culture. A bit like the Tales of Kenzera, it's representing African culture to some extent, I believe. So some similarities. However, the team behind Kingdom Come Deliverance, they set out with a vision to make a fantastic role-playing game, old school values, incredible world, great characters, exploration, and it happens to be historically accurate. Now, if the game sucked, if the RPG systems were rubbish, would anyone give a toss that it's historically accurate? Would we say, well, the game's no fun to play, but it's historically accurate European culture, I'm just going to love it anyway and buy it anyway to support it? No one would give a fuck about that. It would have been a complete failure. It's fantastic because the team went in with the right mindset, whereas Tales of Kenzera, you know that when they sat down to plan Tales of Kenzera, the last thing they were talking about was the gameplay. What's the genre going to be? How many bosses are we going to have? Upgrades, items you can utilize, all of that gameplay exploration. That was the last thing on their mind. All they were thinking about was pushing in the cultural messaging, re-educating people. We've got to push some sort of message. The game came last. This could have been a book or something else. You don't care about the video game's medium. That's pretty much a fact with this, because even the description of the game, if we go back to the original article, platformer melding African Bantu cultures with personal experience of grief, hit PC in late April. I don't care about any of that. I want to know what the game is. If it was something else, if it was platformer melding Christian values with mental illness, I'd be just as uninterested. The game didn't fail because it's about African culture. It failed because it's a mediocre game that tried to make the whole selling point about African Bantu culture, which not that many people are going to care about. That's not racist or whatever. People just want to be entertained, play something fun. You should have made a good game, and then if you sprinkled in your cultural stuff, maybe it would have been fine. Maybe it would have sold well, and you wouldn't have lost half your team. It failed. It's another Sweet Baby Inc. failure. It's deserved. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.